All right, welcome back into Cherry Picking Must Drop for Week 4, presented by FanDuel Canada. The best place to be betting on the NHL this season. Really the only place you can take or play same-game parlays that include shots on goal props, which is easily the most exciting and the most popular market in the NHL betting landscape right now. So download the FanDuel Canada app. That link is in the description below. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe before we get into the video too. 5 must drops for the week. These are players mainly for people I would say in 10 to 12 player leagues, maybe 14 player leagues, depending on who's your waiver wire, but just some more high profile players that we're looking to let go this week. Let's get into these players. All right, so the first player we're dropping is actually Tyson Barrie on the Nashville Predators. Just around 80% rostered right now, so I know a little bit crazy, but like I always say in these must-drop videos, try and trade him. I bet you there's not going to be too many takers, and you won't be able to get too much for him at this point. Looking at his season so far, 8 games played, 4 assists. Just not seeing the same type of production from Tyson Barrie in terms of an offensive defenseman that we've seen in years past. His shot attempts are still there, but a lot of these are getting blocked. I guess they're just coming from a further distance away from the net at this point. And if you look at his ice time too, over the Preds' last 3 games, he's 4th amongst defensemen, so that's not really great considering he does technically still play on that top line. He's behind Yossi McDonough and then Alex Carrier as well. He's 7th on the team in Corsi for over the last 3 games as well, with just 4 shots on goal, and his expected goals for is 5th last on the team over that span. For defensemen, that's not like a huge cause for concern, but for a guy like him who you really rely on for points, it's a little bit concerning for sure. And he also doesn't give you the same amount of production as other defensemen do if you're in a bangers leagues as well with hits and block shots. So the biggest thing for Tyson Barrie, and I think why everyone thought he would be just as good as maybe last year, is how many power play points he had last season. He had 31 power play points last season. He has just 1 so far through 8 games. And obviously this Nashville Predators power play is nowhere near the level of the Edmonton Oilers' first power play line that Barrie was on last year before getting traded for Matthias Ekholm. So I can't see him getting more than 20 power play points this year, and even that I think is a stretch at this point. So I'd be looking to get Tyson Barrie off my fantasy hockey team right now. All right, the next guy we're looking to drop, Elias Lindholm on the Calgary Flames. 77% rostered looking at his season so far. 9 games played, 2 goals, 4 assists, and just 1 single power play point, with a shooting percentage about 10 right now. No points in his last 4 games. You just can't have that from a center in fantasy hockey. There are too many good centers available at all times to keep a player like this on your team. His expected goals for last week, sub 1, it was 0.5. That's lower than Jonathan Drouin, to put things in perspective. Jonathan Drouin created more offense than him in terms of shots on goal, scoring chances, and even high danger chances as well. Lindholm didn't record a single high danger scoring chance last week, which is a little bit obviously a huge cause for concern if he's one of your top centers on your fantasy hockey team right now. I know he plays on the top line, but his production is still not there. And obviously for the Flames in general, they suck right now. They can't score. It's the same problem they had last year. I thought things would change under a new regime with Ryan Huska, and maybe he's just still trying to figure things out, but I'd still look at dropping him. And, he's considered a first-line center, but he's not playing like a first-line center. I say that because Kadri and Backlund are creating more offense, and they're playing more than him. He's 3rd in ice time in terms of centers right now over the last 4 games played too. He was 10th in Corsi for as well, meaning he's just not the one getting pucks on net right now, which is obviously an even bigger cause for concern. I don't really need to tell you that though, because if you're watching these Flames game, it's pretty apparent that he's just not the one creating offense, and this Flames team in general not creating offense. So Lindholm, a drop this week for me. All right, so the next guy we're going to be looking at to drop is Vincent Trocheck on the New York Rangers. 62% rostered, 9 games played so far this year, has 1 goal and 3 assists, and 3 of his 4 points coming on the power play. This one is a drop I'm a little bit more hesitant about because I still think we haven't seen the fully untapped Rangers offense yet this year. Zibanejad had a little bit of a slow start. Seems like Trocheck is in that same boat, but obviously you can't rely on Trocheck as highly as you're going to rely on a guy like Zibanejad. And we're just not seeing the same type of production in fantasy hockey for Trocheck. He's a dog and a great hockey player, but it doesn't really translate all the time to fantasy hockey. He has just 5 shots on goal over the last 3 games played, which is tied 6th on the team with Alexi Lafreniere and guys like Eric Gustafsson and some others. His expected goals for number isn't too bad, I will say. He does see a decent amount of production on the power play, but it goes hand in hand with Lindholm. You just can't have a center that's producing this few points on a week-to-week basis. I also don't love his 5-on-5 numbers. You can't really have someone that solely relies on the power play, especially when he's not like the trigger man on that power play. Like he plays the center role, plays in front of the net. So not a single point in 5-on-5 play last week is definitely concerning. And playing on a third line with Blake Wheeler, who also has had little to no production this year, doesn't give me confidence that this problem will be rectified at any point. So like I said, one I'm still a little bit more hesitant on, but there are definitely, I'm sure, some better centers out there that you could pick up. So I'd be looking to drop Trocheck this week. NHL same game parlays are back on FanDuel this season. Offered in every single game, every single night. Unlike most books, you can include goals, points, and shots on goal. But the newest feature is the gift. Goal in the first 10 minutes. Looking at teams to target for the gift, here's the top 5 teams in goals per game last season. Here's a breakdown of goals in the first period from the 2021-22 season, as only 17% of games that season didn't have a goal in the first period. What will your NHL SGPs look like at FanDuel this season? Okay, the next guy we're going to be looking to drop is Rickard Rakell on the Pittsburgh Penguins. 48% rostered, 9 games played. The guy has 1 assist, so it's just hard to keep him on your team at this point. I've given him enough chances. It seems like Mike Sullivan has at this point too, because he started on the first line, if you don't remember, with Sidney Crosby, but has been moved off and put on the second line since then with Evgeny Malkin and Riley Smith, and they've gotten into a groove. It's just not translating to Rakell. Malkin, 11 points so far this season in 9 games played, and Riley Smith has 7 points. I believe he has 4 goals as well. He also just got moved off the first power play line as well, with Riley Smith taking his spot there as he moves onto a second power play unit on the point, actually, with Chris Letang. And then the rest of the forwards on that line are Radim Zahorna, Jeff Carter, and then Brian Russ. Brian Russ being the guy who stole his spot on that first line with Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel. Another week with no points as well. He's creating some offense, I'll give him that, but he just can't score. And he's 9th on his team in total ice time for the season. If you look at the last 3 games, it does seem like Sullivan's playing him a little bit less. He's 11th in ice time behind guys like Lars Eller and right on par with Drew O'Connor. Not a place you want to be, so I'm getting rid of Rickard Rakell. All right, the last guy on my must-drop for week 4 is Tyler Seguin on the Dallas Stars. 27% rostered, 7 games played through the season, just 1 goal and 2 assists. One guy that certainly needs to be dropped right now as Peter DeBoer figures out these lines. I mentioned in my must-add when I was talking about Mason Marchment, DeBoer has said this Hintz line will obviously stay the same with Robertson and Pavelski because it just rocks. But these other lines he's still figuring out. He's been playing with Duchesne mostly, but can't seem to be a consistent producer right now in fantasy hockey. He had 0 points last week. Certainly not someone who can produce in bangers leagues either. He's not someone who's going to be blocking a ton of shots or hitting a bunch of people. And I said this at the beginning of the season, this Stars team, there's a lot of mouths to feed on this, especially when DeBoer trusts that first line so much. They're going to be playing so much more than any other line on this team right now. So it's hard to find consistency when you're trying to find guys like Tyler Seguin. I know a little bit contradictive considering I said to pick up Mason Marchment, but Marchment's creating a lot of offense right now, and a guy who's 2% rostered compared to 30% rostered, I would still give the chance to the guy who's a little bit less rostered at this point. And you can find much better players that aren't Mason Marchment for Tyler Seguin right now too. He's creating offense for this line, but only has 4 shots over his last 3 games played. Maybe when the Stars get the lid off the basket here, their offense has gotten off to a little bit of a slow start. Maybe he could be worth a look and a pickup at this point. But looking at his season right now, I don't think Tyler Seguin is a guy I'm going to be keeping on my roster. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of this week's must drop. If you are in a deeper league and want to know what to do with some of the players on your team, be sure to drop a comment below. Be sure to download the FanDuel Canada app, get betting on the #1 or North America's #1 sports book. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.